The galaxy had grown complacent, arrogant in its assumption that humanity was just another backwater species, one that could be ignored, manipulated, or even crushed without consequence, and for decades the alien empires traded with one another, waged wars, and carved territories while Earth quietly observed. Its people focused on survival, innovation, and a peculiar resilience that outsiders never bothered to understand. For humans had endured catastrophes their history had almost annihilated, them from plagues to wars to environmental collapse, yet each time they adapted, learned, and emerged stronger. And when the first diplomatic mission from the Virellian Council arrived, expecting obedience and respect, they were met with composed humans whose calm demeanor concealed an intelligence and strategic foresight that immediately made the aliens underestimate the situation, assuming that Earth was technologically inferior and militarily insignificant. But in reality, humanity had spent decades in secrecy developing advanced propulsion systems, artificial intelligence capable of adaptive strategy, energy weapons far beyond the crude plasma-based armaments common in the galaxy, and fleets that could outmaneuver even the largest alien warships. And as the Virellians issued ultimatums over the holonet, threatening sanctions and blockades, humans responded not with immediate aggression but with measured negotiation, each word calculated to gauge alien reaction and plant seeds of doubt, subtly exposing the arrogance and overconfidence that ran deep in every alien civilization that had interacted with them. And meanwhile, on the edges of the solar system, massive human ships emerged from concealed orbital docks, their hulls coated in adaptive stealth fields and equipped with quantum communications that rendered alien sensor sweeps useless, allowing Earth to secretly gather intelligence on every galactic power, cataloging weaknesses, leadership patterns, and fleet dispositions. While human scientists perfected energy shields and propulsion matrices that could withstand and outpace any known weapon, and in parallel, Earth's diplomats cultivated alliances with smaller alien worlds that had long suffered under imperial dominance, offering protection in exchange for information, positioning humanity not as a simple player but as a hidden force whose reach and influence extended across dozens of star systems without the galactic elite ever realizing it. And then came the incident that would mark the beginning of the end for those who underestimated humanity. A mining colony on Proxima 4, ostensibly unremarkable, came under attack by a Virellian strike force, expecting an easy victory against primitive defenses. But the humans had anticipated such aggression, and as the alien ships approached, they were met with automated defense grids that combined AI-directed energy turrets, drone swarms, and rapid response fighter craft that leveraged Earth's unique modular design philosophy, overwhelming the attackers with coordinated precision that left the aliens stunned and forced into retreat, a single clash that revealed to the galaxy that humanity was not to be trifled with. And as news of the engagement spread, whispers of Earth's hidden capabilities began to unsettle even the most confident imperial councils, creating cracks in alliances, sowing doubt among generals, and igniting curiosity and fear in equal measure. While back on Earth, humans watched with steady determination, knowing that patience, discipline, and preparation were the weapons that would allow them to correct centuries of misjudgment. And as they mobilized for the next phase of contact, they did so not with brashness, but with a calculated certainty of a species that had been underestimated for too long, a species that was about to turn every mistake the aliens had made into a stepping stone for victory. The Virellians recoiled from the unexpected resistance at Proxima 4, but their shock quickly hardened into disbelief as human fleets began moving in coordinated waves, showing an operational efficiency that no alien war council had predicted. And as reports filtered in from the outer colonies, it became clear that humanity had not only prepared defensive strategies but had anticipated every likely offensive maneuver, their ships equipped with adaptive cloaking arrays, hyper-accelerated strike drones, and electromagnetic pulse cannons capable of disabling enemy systems without destroying infrastructure. And while the Virellian admirals argued over retreat or escalation, humans quietly engaged in simultaneous diplomatic outreach to neighboring empires, subtly suggesting alliances, trade advantages, and shared intelligence that made aligning with humanity more attractive than opposing them, creating tension and suspicion among the alien powers as they began to second-guess their centuries-old assumptions about dominance. And behind the scenes, Earth's command centers coordinated rescue operations for dozens of colonies previously neglected by distant empires, showcasing not only technological superiority, but an ethic of protective intervention that contrasted sharply with the ruthless pragmatism of alien rulers. and the humans' calculated actions began to shift the narrative across the galaxy, portraying them not as a minor planet but as a species whose ingenuity, strategic foresight, and willingness to act decisively made them both respected and feared. And in the midst of these maneuvers, individual human heroes emerged, captains and commanders who demonstrated not only skill but creativity, leveraging unconventional tactics that confounded alien logic, such as deploying decoy fleets that emitted false signatures, staging ambushes in gravitational anomalies, and using AI to predict enemy maneuvers with staggering accuracy. And as alien forces scrambled to adapt, humanity continued to quietly build infrastructure on moons and unclaimed planets, constructing orbital defenses, quantum relay networks, and training new generations of officers who internalize a philosophy of preparation, resilience, and adaptive thinking. While back on Earth, scientists and engineers refined weapons and shields capable of scaling to planetary defense or interstellar engagement, ensuring that the gap between human and alien capability only widened. And as rumors of these developments spread through intercepted communications and rogue traders, distrust between traditional alien powers grew, old alliances fractured, and the Virellians faced mounting pressure from within their own ranks as senators and military leaders questioned the wisdom of provoking a species whose strength had been underestimated for too long. And in the midst of this rising tension, humanity prepared for its first offensive demonstration, not as a show of cruelty but as a lesson in consequence, positioning fleets around critical trade routes and supply nodes, ready to strike with precision against those who threatened human colonies. And when the moment came, the calculated assault revealed not only technological mastery but strategic genius, disabling alien forces with minimal casualties, and the result was instantaneous across council halls, war rooms, and public forums. The galaxy was forced to acknowledge that every miscalculation about humanity was now a liability, that their patience, resilience, and foresight were unmatched, and that the species they had ignored, mocked, and underestimated had transformed into a force whose victory was inevitable if provoked, setting the stage for a new era where humans no longer hid their potential, but commanded attention, respect, and, when necessary, decisive action that reshaped the power balance of the stars. As the consequences of Proxima 4 and the subsequent strategic strikes rippled across the galaxy, alien intelligence networks struggled to reconcile the reality of humanity's capabilities with the centuries of assumptions they had relied upon. And while human fleets quietly repositioned, Earth's diplomats leveraged the situation to solidify alliances with smaller species who had long been oppressed or ignored, offering protection, technology transfer, and shared knowledge, which in turn created pockets of resistance within formerly hostile territories and forced even the largest empires to reconsider every military deployment and trade agreement. And while some alien factions debated containment, others began clandestine negotiations, secretly seeking access to human designs, AI protocols, and propulsion technologies, desperate to catch up to a species that had leapt decades ahead. And back on Earth, human scientists refined gravitational manipulation drives that allowed ships to traverse enemy-controlled space undetected, while energy weapons were enhanced with precision targeting matrices that made evasion nearly impossible for alien vessels relying on conventional sensors. And on the battlefield, human commanders applied principles of adaptive engagement, striking weak points while avoiding traps, coordinating multi-layered attacks that combined orbital bombardment with stealth incursions, drone swarms, and decoy fleets, forcing alien admirals into reactive stances that exposed flaws in centuries of rigid strategy. And as each engagement unfolded, reports of human ingenuity spread through intercepted communications, creating fear and awe among alien populations, eroding morale, and prompting mutinies within fleets that had been confident in their superiority. And simultaneously, Earth's intelligence agencies uncovered hidden supply lines, secret communication hubs, and covert operatives working to destabilize human territories, and in true human fashion. Rather than responding with indiscriminate retaliation, precise surgical strikes neutralized threats while preserving life and infrastructure, demonstrating a combination of discipline, ethics, and efficiency that alien commanders could not comprehend. And as the Virellians and their allies scrambled to adapt, humanity unveiled a new technological breakthrough, the quantum temporal relay, which allowed instantaneous coordination across vast distances, rendering enemy attempts at ambush or misdirection completely ineffective. And in every council chamber where alien leaders gathered, Panic grew as the scale of miscalculation became undeniable, as humans systematically dismantled logistical networks, outmaneuvered superior numbers, and leveraged alliances to create multi-front pressure that alien war planners could neither predict nor counter. And within this strategic symphony, individuals emerged whose daring and vision became legendary, commanders who reproposed alien tactics. Against them, engineers who modified weapons mid-battle, and diplomats who turned potential enemies into allies with a combination of calculated risk and human empathy, all while maintaining an image of restraint that only amplified the psychological impact on those who still underestimated them. And as humans prepared for the next critical confrontation, their influence had already begun to rewrite the political, military, and cultural landscape of the galaxy, proving that underestimation was no longer merely a mistake but a fatal one, and that humanity's patience, intelligence, and resilience were the true instruments of victory that no empire could ignore or survive once fully unleashed. With the galaxy now fully aware that humanity was a force beyond reckoning, the Virellians and their allied empires scrambled to consolidate power, fortifying key systems and recalling fleets from distant outposts. Yet every move they made was anticipated by human intelligence, for Earth had spent years embedding adaptive AI into reconnaissance satellites, quantum communication arrays, and autonomous drones, allowing real-time strategy adjustments that left alien commanders perpetually a step behind. And while the larger empires debated panic-driven countermeasures, humans quietly staged evacuations and reinforcement across vulnerable colonies, not only preserving lives but demonstrating their commitment to protecting allies, which in turn destabilized alien influence in occupied regions. And as human fleets moved into contested sectors, they executed highly coordinated strikes that combined orbital suppression, precision boarding operations, and drone swarms guided by predictive algorithms, neutralizing enemy capital ships with minimal human loss while leaving civilian infrastructure intact. And on the political front, Earth's diplomats leveraged every victory to negotiate with smaller systems, offering protection, trade advantages, and technological support, steadily turning former satellites of empires into independent partners of humanity. And this dual approach of military precision and strategic diplomacy caused cracks in alien morale, with mutinies, resignations, and betrayal spreading like wildfires. Commanders realized their orders were increasingly irrelevant in the face of human adaptability. And in the midst of these campaigns, Earth scientists revealed a breakthrough in energy projection, capable of channeling stellar output into focus arrays that could disable entire fleets without causing planetary devastation. A development that forced even the most arrogant alien strategists to reconsider the very concept of offense. And while humans employed these weapons sparingly, their mere presence altered the calculus of interstellar warfare, compelling alien leaders to negotiate or retreat rather than risk catastrophic losses. And as intelligence reports detailed the systematic dismantling of alien supply lines, communication networks, and command hubs, whispers spread across council halls and public forums that humanity's patience, ethics, and technological superiority were an entirely new paradigm, one that could not be confronted with traditional tactics. And in parallel, human special operations conducted covert missions to liberate oppressed populations, disable hidden research facilities, and secure vital resources, often using non-lethal methods that demonstrated both capability and restraint, creating a psychological effect that resonated far beyond each engagement. And as battles raged across multiple sectors, humanity continued to reveal innovations in propulsion, AI strategy, and energy manipulation that consistently outmatched alien assumptions, proving that every misjudgment of humans was not just a tactical error but a strategic catastrophe. And with each successful operation, alliances shifted, fears spread, and the narrative of the galaxy transformed, from one of human inferiority to one where every empire, no matter how mighty, had to reckon with the fact that their greatest mistake had been underestimating a species that thrived on resilience, ingenuity, and a willingness to fight with calculated precision when provoked, setting the stage for an inevitable confrontation where the full scope of humanity's power would finally be undeniable. As human influence expanded across contested systems, the galaxy's elite powers scrambled desperately to contain what they now refer to in hushed tones as the Earth threat. Yet every defensive maneuver they attempted played directly into human strategy, for humans had spent decades studying alien command structures, cultural biases, and strategic tendencies, allowing them to predict responses with unnerving accuracy. And while alien fleets mustered near key starways, they were met with ambushes that combined stealth technology, predictive AI, and coordinated strikes from multiple vectors, neutralizing superior numbers without unnecessary destruction, while Earth's diplomats simultaneously reached out to oppress civilizations, offering alliances and protection in exchange for intelligence and logistical support, steadily building a coalition that shifted the balance of power and undermined alien confidence. And on every battlefield, human commanders demonstrated improvisational brilliance, adapting strategies mid-engagement, exploiting environmental anomalies like asteroid fields, gravitational distortions, and solar flares, and using them to maximize efficiency, outflank enemy forces, and minimize collateral damage, while engineers deployed adaptive energy shields, quantum jamming arrays, and fleet-wide AI coordination that rendered traditional alien tactics obsolete. And as these operations unfolded, reports of human precision, discipline, and strategic genius spread throughout the galaxy, sowing doubt among allies of the empires, provoking insubordination, and causing previously loyal factions to reconsider their positions. And within council chambers, debates raged as advisors warned that continued underestimation of humans could result in total collapse. Yet pride and arrogance delayed decisive action, giving humanity the time to expand its influence further. And simultaneously, humans executed rescue and protection missions on planets previously neglected or exploited, demonstrating not only technological and military superiority but an ethical framework that contrasted sharply with the ruthless pragmatism of alien leadership, fostering loyalty, gratitude, and admiration among liberated populations, which in turn provided critical intelligence, resources, and manpower, further amplifying human capabilities. And as the Virellians and their allies attempted to regroup, they discovered that humans had anticipated their every move, from supply chain vulnerabilities to command communication hubs. And while alien admirals debated retreats and reinforcements, human strategists executed a series of coordinated strikes that simultaneously neutralized multiple fleet clusters, disrupted communication networks, and occupied strategic outposts, creating confusion, panic, and widespread recognition that the species they had dismissed as inconsequential was now in command of the narrative, the technology, and the battlefield. And as human engineers unveiled the next phase of orbital defense platforms, capable of rapid deployment and near-instantaneous adaptation to enemy fire patterns, alien commanders realized the catastrophic nature of their miscalculations, that every assumption about humanity's weakness, inexperience, or disinterest had been catastrophically wrong. And with the galaxy teetering on the brink of irreversible change, humanity prepared for the ultimate demonstration of its capability, a coordinated operation that would simultaneously secure vital systems, neutralize remaining resistance, and showcase to the entire interstellar community that the species once underestimated had now become the defining force in a galaxy forced to recognize that any further aggression against humans will be met with overwhelming and unavoidable consequence. The moment for humanity's decisive demonstration arrived as fleets coordinated across multiple sectors, a carefully orchestrated symphony of precision, technology, and strategy designed to overwhelm even the most confident alien commanders. And as humans initiated the operation, the galaxy watched with a mix of disbelief and awe, for the scale, coordination, and effectiveness of the attacks were unprecedented, with orbital bombardments disabling key military installations while stealth fleets infiltrated heavily guarded zones to neutralize command centers and supply depots without unnecessary destruction, all while AI-directed drones maintained continuous disruption of enemy communication networks, creating confusion and forcing alien admirals into reactive, disorganized maneuvers. And simultaneously, human diplomats leveraged the chaos to finalize alliances with previously hesitant or oppressed civilizations, turning former adversaries into active participants in the campaign, providing critical intelligence, logistical support, and local control, which allowed human commanders to execute multi-front operations with unmatched efficiency. And as alien fleets scrambled desperately to regroup, human engineers unveiled the full capability of the energy projection arrays, focused stellar weapons, and quantum temporal relays, creating an environment where even the most advanced alien fleets could not coordinate an effective response. And as the first full-scale engagement commenced, humans demonstrated an unparalleled combination of offensive power and defensive resilience, striking decisively while preserving critical infrastructure, civilian populations, and environmental stability, showcasing that their superiority was not only technological and tactical but also rooted in strategic foresight and ethical discipline. And across the galaxy, the ripple effects were immediate. Morale within alien forces plummeted, mutinies and surrenders increased, councils and war rooms descended into chaos, and whispers of humanity's true capabilities spread to every corner of the interstellar community, forcing even the most powerful empires to reconsider every action they had taken against Earth. While behind the scenes, human scientists and engineers continued to enhance weapons, shields, and fleet coordination, ensuring that each subsequent engagement was even more precise and devastating than the last. And as alien fleets suffered repeated defeats, their political structures fractured, with factions negotiating separate truces or fleeing to avoid annihilation, and humanity, ever disciplined and methodical, allowed only measured victories, demonstrating restraint that contrasted sharply with the alien ruthlessness, which only amplified the psychological impact of their superiority. And within council chambers, on battlefields, and across occupied systems, it became undeniable that the age of underestimating humanity was over, that every arrogant prediction had been wrong, and that the species they had dismissed as weak, insignificant, or primitive had now become the arbiter of power, influence, and survival in the galaxy, setting the stage for the final reckoning, where humans would consolidate their position, demonstrate the consequences of alien misjudgment, and establish a new order in which the mistakes of the past could never be repeated. And as the last fleets of resistant empires faced coordinated strikes, human ingenuity, foresight, and restraint combined to deliver the crushing clarity that every alien who had doubted, provoked, or attacked humanity had now paid the ultimate price for underestimation, ensuring that the name of Earth and its people will be remembered not as prey, but as a force that redefined the galaxy itself. As the final phase of humanity's campaign unfolded, alien leaders across the galaxy faced the undeniable truth that every miscalculation, every assumption of weakness, and every act of arrogance against Earth had been a catastrophic mistake. And while some scrambled for negotiations, their proposals were met with calm, calculated responses from human diplomats who combined firmness with ethical clarity, demanding fair treatment, respect for allied systems, and guarantees that no further aggression would go unanswered. And simultaneously, human fleets executed the last series of strikes with precise coordination, simultaneously disabling remaining military concentrations, securing critical trade routes, and liberating oppressed colonies, all while minimizing loss of life and preserving vital planetary resources, demonstrating not only technological superiority but strategic brilliance and moral discipline that left even the most hardened alien commanders in awe. And across countless systems, liberated populations began to take their place as allies, administrators, and contributors to the rapidly expanding coalition, reinforcing humanity's position and signaling to the rest of the galaxy that the era of unilateral dominance by any single empire had ended, and within the shattered councils of the Virellians and other defeated powers, panic and reflection spread as leaders struggled to comprehend how a species they had underestimated, mocked, and dismissed had achieved victory without resorting to wanton destruction, relying instead on foresight, preparation, ingenuity, and the unwavering will to protect their own and their allies. And on Earth, celebrations were tempered with discipline as humans prepared to consolidate governance, coordinate interstellar trade and security, and ensure that lessons learned from the campaign would guide future policy, diplomacy, and defense. And in every sector touched by human intervention, evidence of the species, ingenuity and restraint became the foundation for new cultural, technological, and political cooperation, creating networks of knowledge, commerce, and mutual defense that would endure for generations. And as historians and chroniclers across the galaxy recorded the events, the narrative was clear. Humanity had not only survived the misjudgments and aggression of superior powers, but had turned every threat into an opportunity to demonstrate capability, protect the vulnerable, and establish a lasting legacy. And in the wake of the campaign, the galaxy had shifted irrevocably, with humans recognized as leaders, strategists, protectors, and arbiters of consequence, proving once and for all that underestimation of their patience, intelligence, and resolve was not merely an error. It was a fatal mistake, and the species that had long been dismissed as insignificant had emerged as a defining force in the galaxy, a testament to resilience, ingenuity, and the enduring truth that humanity, when challenged, could turn even the gravest threat into an overwhelming victory, rewriting the rules of interstellar engagement and ensuring that the legacy of Earth would never again be questioned, underestimated, or ignored.